All right, we are live, guys. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Rep America. I am your host, and I got a great show for you today. We got a lot going on, guys. There's quite a few things to go through. They have just released the evidence on the shooter, the would-be assassin, the shooter that attempted to assassinate our president and his cabinet. So, and we have quite a few other things that we're going to go through. A lot of stuff is happening right now, a lot to keep up with, but don't worry, I got you. And something new I found out about the SPLC, as you guys know, the Southern Poverty Law Center. Something very interesting about a Biden judge. You're going to see this. I'm going to pull this up for you. You know me, I go through a lot of this information, and I'm digesting these hearings, Senate hearings, and I got some stuff to pull up for you. So we're going to go through that as well. First, we're going to take a look at Sheila. That's who you got up on your screen right now. Looks like we are live everywhere. What's up, Jennifer? Good to have you. What's happening? There we go. All right, we are now officially, there we go. We're live on every platform pretty much. Okay, so again, guys, if you're just joining the show, we have a lot to go through. I have some new information for you on the SPLC, Southern Poverty Law Center, something I dug up on my own. I don't think anybody's mentioned this yet. I also have the evidence that's been released on the shooter. So we're going to take a look at that. That has just been released live. And here's this is what we're going to go through. You can see that on your screen right now. These are the weapons that he was going to use, and they just presented this today. We also have a press briefing. So our lovely Carolyn Levitt is very much pregnant, about to give birth any moment. And she gave a press briefing, maybe her last before she gives birth. And we got a couple things going on, a couple different things. Senate hearing, I want to show you something. Let's start off with this here. If you guys aren't aware, we have Sheila Sherfless McCormick. I don't know how you say her name, but she has just resigned after being found guilty of 25 violations by the ethics committee, okay? And she's also been accused, she's been indicted, from what I understand, she's been accused of stealing $5 million in FEMA money, okay? She is a Democrat, guys, out of Florida. She has just resigned days ago, right literally hours before she was supposed to appear before the Senate, before the committee, and she was most likely going to be blown out, and she decided to resign hours before that. Yeah, she will most likely, after she has her day in court, she might find herself in jail for a pretty long time. Taking $5 million of the people's, the American people's money from FEMA to spend it on canary yellow diamond rings and all kinds of stuff. So we're going to go through some of that. This is her, I think, before, I don't know, maybe Ozempic or whatnot. I'm not really sure. But this is her after she lost a little bit of that weight. And this is the third, as this says, this is the third resignation in 2 weeks. We had, as you know, the other, there's a couple other people that have resigned that have been exposed. So we're going to go through some of that. This is a video of a Democrat. I'm going to play this. This is a video of a Democrat that agrees with Sheila. And we'll hear what she has to say right here.
And it really gets at something that's been very interesting in this Congress, which is the number of lawmakers facing expulsion. Swalwell was one of them. Another is Sheila Sherfless McCormick. She resigned just before the Ethics Committee was going.
So Swalwell was the guy that we all know about, that could not help himself with the women, and he found out quickly that's not how you roll.
Have a little conversation about her. But she said this: we should be very careful about the precedent we are setting. In this country, we do not punish people before due process is complete, and we do not allow allegations alone to override the will of the people. That is a dangerous path, and one that should concern every American, regardless of party.
I agree with Sheila. These are challenging times that we are in Congress. It is a dangerous precedent that we're setting. You don't know if people are authoring these articles of expulsion because of partisanship, if we're weaponizing.
So the funny part about what she just mentioned is that she what she's complaining about. First of all, they don't go through what they went through, and she wouldn't have resigned unless she did actually, again, we know very likely did something wrong here and is going to be guilty of what they are accusing her of stealing $5 million of FEMA funds. And also, again, you can see it here, she found guilty of violating 25 violations by the Ethics Committee. So she knows she's in trouble. That's why you don't resign unless you know you're in trouble. So and then now she has the guts to come out and say that this is lawfare. The same thing they're doing. Actually, this is again, it's the same thing they're accusing that they did to Trump. Actually, is what I'm trying to say. And in his case, they went crazy. They went after him. They did everything they could. And they found him guilty of some error that his accountant made on one of the paper forms that they filled out, and they did all that to him. But every time they do that to him, they make him stronger. But for her, it's very obvious that she is going to be most likely found guilty. That's why she resigned. So she is
this process
on her way out.
And it really gets.
Now here's the interesting part. Here is who she was. These are some of the videos you don't see. I'm going to show you this. Here's her campaign video from years ago. Now listen to this. Check this out. Let me pull this up for you.
I'm Sheila Sherfilis McCormick, Democrat for Congress, and I approve this message. It's been difficult for many to make ends meet during the pandemic. Thankfully, Congress stepped up providing much-needed stimulus checks. Unfortunately, they were not enough for us to recover economically. Under My People's Prosperity Plan, if you are over 18 and make less than $75,000, you will receive $1,000 a month with no strings attached.
If you're over 18 and you make less than $75K, you make $1,000, no strings attached, of the people's money, of the American people's money. Here we go.
Congress can provide these checks. They just did so. Under my plan, the ultra-wealthy will finally pay their fair share.
The wealthy will pay their fair share. Again, guys, I have to remind everyone, if you're just joining this and you're not sure, how much wealthy people pay in taxes, it's almost all of your taxes are paid by the wealthy. So if you want to tax them more, I don't know what you're trying to ask for. The bottom 50% of earners in our country pay maybe 2 to 3, maybe 4% of all of our taxes of our country. The top 50% pay for like 90%, 80 to 90, I think even more, 95%. And then you have the top, I believe 20% top 20% are paying for about 75 to 80% of all taxes. So you have people like this coming out and saying we're going to tax the rich and they're going to finally pay their fair share. So crazy times, guys. This is what we have to deal with the people on the left reaching in some people's pockets to put into the pockets of other people. And it goes back to actually another thing that I'm going to be doing for you guys today. I'm going to share this with you. I have a book that I'm reading of Thomas Sowell. We're going to take a look at a few sentences out of his book. And let's see if I can just give you a glimpse of what I'm talking about. Where is that at? Here it is. Let's see here. If you can see this right here, this is a book. Look at the title here. This says it's the left's vocabulary, and you're gonna like that. It's very interesting. It's not what you think coming actually, days after the shooting, the would-be assassin, the attempted assassination of our president and his cabinet. There is a vocabulary that goes along with that as well, but this is called the left's vocabulary. This is what Thomas Sowell, it's a 2-page article he wrote that he published, and it talks about something else. Talks about what I just explained to you guys, and we're going to go through and take a look at that in a moment. And so that right there is going to talk about what Sheila just mentioned in this video, okay? So she wants to tax the wealthy to give to the people who? To give to who? To the people that don't want to go out and work and make money for themselves, so we got to pay for it. So what exactly is going on here? We're going to talk about that, and Thomas Sowell speaks about it in the couple sentences that I'm going to share with you. Here is another video that you probably have not seen. I'm almost certain you haven't seen this, of Sheila, this congresswoman that just resigned because she took $5 million of the people's money and violated all kinds of ethics issues. So here's another video. Check this out. Look at what this Democrat out of Florida, okay, there are Democrats out of Florida that are representing the people. This one here, check out what she's pushing for, okay? Watch this right here.
Mr. Speaker, I now yield 2 minutes to the newest member of the House, the gentlelady from Florida, Ms. Cherfilis McCormick.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
Thank you, Speaker. I rise today to represent every person of African descent across this country and in Florida's 20 congressional district with natural hair. I call on my colleagues from the U.S. Senate to pass the...
Did you just get that? She says it in the very beginning. She has a lot to say. Check this out. She's talking about people's hair. This is what you guys voted for, you Democrats in her district in Florida. Look at what you voted for. Look at this. This is not long ago. This is 4 years ago. Again, remember, this lady just resigned. She's a congresswoman. She was a congresswoman from Florida who is advocating for what she calls natural hair for African-American women, and she calls them the crown, so they can wear their crown, and it just makes no sense. Just check this out, please. This is crazy.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
Thank you, Speaker. I rise today to represent every person of African descent across this country and in Florida's 20 congressional district with natural hair. I call on my colleagues from the U.S. Senate to pass the Crown Act to prohibit discrimination.
To pass the Crown Act. She calls it the Crown Act.
On the basis of hair texture, hairstyle that is commonly associated with a particular race and national origin. Lawsuits initiated by Black workers alleging discrimination against their natural hair in the workplace have filled courthouses for more than 40 years. This legislation will provide us with the freedom to wear our crowns without discrimination.
Freedom to wear our crowns without discrimination. Guys, what the hell are we doing? This is the wacky shit that people from other countries look at when they look over at our politics and they go, what the hell are these idiots doing over there? Imagine, you guys, whoever you were that voted for her in her district in Florida, to have a Democrat come up and step up and present you with the Crown Act. What the heck are we talking about right now? This is very interesting. I got a $2 super chat from Chris Law. Says here, let me put it on the screen. Says, is this channel pro-Trump Israel or pro-USA? It's pro all the above, bro. Let's go. Yeah, let's go, baby.
We must understand that hair discrimination is rooted in systemic racism.
Systemic racism. We live in a capitalist, beautiful, wonderful, the best type of political ideology in a capitalist system here in America. And we have freedoms. That's the whole point. That's why people enjoy living in our country. We have freedoms. You are free to work anywhere you want to work. You are free to employ people. You are free to buy things. You are free to choose not to buy things. You are free to choose not to employ. You are free to do whatever you want to do. If I choose not to employ someone, or if I choose to employ someone and I want to make sure their hair is tidy or whatever the case it may be, or I'm not excited about certain person's hair and what for the business that I'm operating, or I don't know, some kind of kitchen, or who knows what it is, that's up to me. That's my freedom. That's my choice as the employer. And you have the choice as an employee, as a person, as a free person, to go do whatever you want with yourself. You're freely being employed at places. Why are they trying to sue people and take people down for what is this? For their what they call the crown, their crown?
Anti-black hair.
I'm not anti-black. I'm not anti any kind of race or whatever, but I mean, I'm anti-stupid lawsuits trying to bury businesses, trying to ruin our capitalist society, trying to ruin our free market system, which is the greatest system on the planet.
Sentiments on U.S. soil has existed for centuries. As a member of Congress, we have a legal and ethical obligation to push back against the Eurocentric beauty perpetuated across TV and in the media. Hair discrimination is race discrimination. Unfortunately, some employers discriminate against people of African descent.
Hair discrimination is race discrimination. Let me get this straight. If I hire you, I hired you. I wasn't being racist. I already saw you. I already hired you. But if I want your hair to be tidy or something, whatever the case may be for the job, for the position that you're working, how is hair discrimination race discrimination? Please, guys, slow down. You're trying to go 0 to 100 and take everybody's money and take businesses down and stand up and act like you're some kind of social justice warrior. Doesn't work like that. That's not cool.
Who wear natural hair, even though employment policies involvement are not related to workers' ability to perform the job. The notion that some of these policies are race-neutral policies, therefore not covered under the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which outlaws discrimination based on race, sex, color, religion, and national origin, is absurd and lacks merit. As a mother of African-American children, I want our beautiful daughters and sons in my district to feel comfortable in their skin without retaliation. Sadly, Black students are 3 to 6 times more likely to be suspended or expelled from school. And today, there remains regressive movements that continue to criminalize natural Black hairstyles under the auspices of preparing them for the real world. We must instead teach our children to embrace their natural beauty and understand.
So, guys, this is obvious, and we're gonna move on to the next piece here. But this is obviously her prior to what I would say looks to me like Ozempic, and here is what I think she looked like. If you could see that on the right side of your screen, I don't know if you can see that. Let's see. Can we pull that up there? Where is she at? What is this stuff here? All right. There she is. Let me get this up on your screen. There we go. And there she is, what looks to me like post Ozempic. Anyway, so that was her there. That was Sheila. She's no longer there, so we're going to have some kind of a special running, possibly, I think, in Florida for her seat. She was a Democrat. Let's see if maybe we can get a Republican in that seat. All right, so there she is again right there. And now let's move on to... So this is interesting from the SPLC. You guys know Southern Poverty Law Center. I'm going to pull that up. Where is that at? Right here. So Southern Poverty Law Center, I'm going to play this video in a second. It says here, the DOJ charges the Southern Poverty Law Center with wire fraud, false statements, and conspiracy to commit money laundering, okay? And I'm going to show you something that I found on Southern Poverty Law Center in just a moment. This is something I don't think anyone's seen. You're going to find out right now. It's something I found while I was watching a hearing. Now check this out. The SPLC secretly funneled. Now these are a very much, it's a lot of African American, not that it matters, but I just found it interesting that the entire staff and the entire website was African American. Southern, here, I'll pull that up and maybe you'll be able to see it on your screen. Oh, here you go. So everyone here on the screen, everyone on their website is African American, and that's neither here nor there. It's just an interesting thing to see here. And you're gonna see that in a second. Look, everything. This is their website that I'm going through right now. So they are very much representing African Americans, in my opinion, on their website and in every other place that I've been able to pull up or see anyone who represents them, and which is fine. But then you notice something very weird. Why would they, look at this? SPLC secretly funneled $3 million in donor funds to violent racist extremist groups. Why would they be giving their donors money, which are prominent Democrats, some movie stars and some big corporate? I think Soros was part of that too. Look, the Ku Klux Klan, American Nazi Party, Aryan Nation, United Clans of America, Unite the Right. Look at all these sadistic souls, motorcycle club, National Socialist Movement. What is going on? So these guys themselves are spending their donors' money, okay? And we're talking about people, I'm telling you, movie stars that we all know and big-time Democrat donors are spending money, donating money to a group that I'm sure they know, or maybe they don't know, are perpetuating this kind of Ku Klux Klan Nazi Party type of activity, which get those people out there marching, and then they also pay. They say this is what we need to be battling. Then they also pay people to go out there with signs to demonstrate against the very parties that they are funding. And we're going to listen to, this is a very short video, but check this out.
We're here today is
this is Patel giving us a little information about this. Check this out. Let's go here.
announce what the general just told you. The Southern Poverty Law Center, in a massive sweeping indictment, has been charged with allegations of fraud and using the banking system to perpetrate that fraud. I just want to talk about a couple of brief things here. The Southern Poverty Law Center themselves advertise to raise money to dismantle violent extremist groups for a period of at least a decade. They use their donor network to raise money to purportedly dismantle violent extremist groups. However, the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, used the money they raised from their donor network to actually pay the leadership of these very groups. I just want to say that again. They used the fraudulently raised money by lying to their donor network, thousands of Americans, to go ahead and actually pay the leadership of these supposed violent extremist groups.
This is just mind-blowing. This is just crazy. And I know, guys, it's been a couple of days now that this has been out, but it's just mind-blowing. But I got some extra piece on top of this, an extra layer on top of this that I haven't heard yet. I'm going to show it to you guys right after this video. Just check this out.
The groups, as the general laid out, include the Ku Klux Klan, the United Clans of America, Unite to Right, National Alliance, the National Socialist Movement, the Aryan Nation Motorcycle Club, and the National Socialist Party of America, and also the American Front. In at least one of these matters, our investigation revealed that funds were used to facilitate the commission of further state and federal offenses, totaling over $3 million. Furthermore, our investigation revealed that the Southern Poverty Law Center, on top of perpetuating this widespread, decade-long, multi-million-dollar fraud, conducted more criminal activity. They attempted to hide their criminal activity from our financial banking network. They set up shell companies and entities around America so that the financial institutions that we rely on as everyday Americans were deceived in believing that money was not coming from the Southern Poverty Law Center in the perpetration of this scheme and fraud. But
You guys hear that? They set up shell companies around our country so that nobody knew where that money was going to when it was going to the KKK and all that other stuff.
rather, fictitious entities they stood up to perpetuate this ongoing fraud. This is a serious and egregious violation of a group that purported to dismantle violent extremist groups, but in turn actually only fueled the hatred. This is an important case brought by President Trump's administration. We're thankful to the president for his leadership and funding of not just the FBI and DOJ, but his commitment to go out there and wipe out fraud and conspiracy and waste and abuse wherever it occurs.
Okay, we got that, and we're doing a great job of it, and we're happy. There's more. Okay, there's a lot more that could be done, but we're glad this is going down. Now check this out. Look at this right here. I happen to just be, as I do, watching my hearings. I watch Senate hearings, and my favorite senator ever is on your screen right now. John Kennedy from Louisiana is questioning someone. Her name is Nancy Abudu. Okay, and Nancy Abudu just happens to be. Why are they're having a Senate hearing? They're speaking to her because Biden appointed her to a lifelong position as a judge. Let me read this to you. So Nancy Abudu, here she is on your screen. Let me pull her up. I'm going to pull her up right now. This is her, okay, right here. We're going to hear her speak right now, okay? This is her on your screen. This is Nancy Abudu, a former litigation director for the SPLC. So check this out. Biden appointed an SPLC litigation director to a lifetime position on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th District. Dude, this is insane. And now you're going to listen to John Kennedy ask her questions. Let's go.
The tape.
2021 report from the Southern Poverty Law Center about voting in Louisiana. Did you say, quote, racist white Southerners, close quote, and, quote, hostile white voters and governmental officials in Louisiana continue to make local polling places and early voting locations threatening spaces for black voters? Did you say that?
Senator, I do not believe that I said that. I haven't read that publication in some time.
Will you help write it?
I helped to draft the publication and approved it, but I'm not familiar with that language.
You don't? Okay.
I helped to draft it and I approved it, but I'm not familiar with that language. Wow, really?
In that same report, did you say, well, tell me where in Louisiana local polling places and early voting locations are threatening African-American voters? You said it, so which polling places?
So again, Senator, obviously I don't have that report in front of me to be able to read and remind myself of the examples that might have been shared. But what I can say is that Louisiana...
Let me cut you off because I'm going to run out of time.
Guys, if you're just joining the stream, I want to remind you who you're watching on your screen right now is a woman who was appointed by Joe Biden from the SPLC. So Biden literally appointed this lady. He took her from the SPLC, said, wow, she would be great for the Court of Appeals. And I'll tell you exactly which one right now. It's a lifetime position on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit. Wow. So imagine Biden's over here running around appointing people from the SPLC, people who are secretly paying the KKK and everyone else. Look at this. The KKK, it's on your screen. The American Nazi Party, Aryan Nation, Sadistic Souls Motorcycle Club. So the people that are paying these people secretly, those people are the ones that Biden thought would be amazing to be lifetime judges for the United States Court of Appeals. Insane.
Counselor, let me ask you one more. In August 2021, we're not talking 20 years ago, we're talking 2021. You were involved in another report by the SPLC, and you said that voter identification, photo ID to vote, is burdensome and does not serve any legitimate state interest. Do you really believe that?
Senator, identification for voting is
yes,
something...
but first, do you really believe that? You said it. You meant it?
The Supreme Court in Crawford v. Marion County has already upheld voter ID laws as per se
Yeah, but you said it didn't serve any legitimate state interest. Do you believe that?
Again, Senator, without that language in front of me, it's hard to understand the context.
You said it. Here it is, August 2021.
Well, there are cases...
I'm just asking you to explain to me why.
Guys, this is not long ago. He just said it's 2021. This right here is, this is insane. This just happened. Biden appointed her for a lifelong position as a U.S. Court of Appeals, a judge, a lifetime position. This lady who says voter ID is burdensome. Showing ID to vote is a burden. So is that what I should say next time I go to order a beer? I say, sorry, you asking for my ID is a burden. Is that what people should start telling liquor stores when they want to buy cigarettes? Sorry, that's burdensome. Is that what people should tell people when they want to go, I don't know, do anything in our country pretty much? Sorry, that's a burden. Dude, you want to vote? Vote. Voting to actually elect these people that are doing this. It's a burden to show ID? What kind of crack are we on?
Having to prove you are who you say you are before you vote doesn't serve, you said it doesn't serve any legitimate state interest. I'm just asking you to explain that statement to me.
I understand, Senator Kennedy, and again, without being able to see the language that appears before and after, it's hard for the context.
You deny that you said it?
I can't say that I haven't seen that language in front of me, but what I do know is that there have been voter ID cases in which courts have found
I'm familiar with the...
Bro, guys, this really gets under my skin. I tell you, I watch these hearings on my own. My free time is this. When you want to just unwind and want to go kick it and lay down and relax, for me, that is watching these, and it makes my blood boil all the time. So my winding down is like, I think if I watch my little tracker, my heartbeat spikes like this. This stuff makes me nuts.
Okay, so, but I'm asking what you think, because you may be on the 11th Circuit. Do you believe that voter ID is inappropriate?
My commitment is to uphold the Supreme Court's decision in Crawford v. Marion
I know, but
County.
here you said it was inappropriate. You deny that?
Well, again, Senator, it would be helpful to know if that section of the report also cites to cases in which federal courts have found that certain voter ID laws do pose an burden on voters.
Thank you, Senator Kennedy.
Let's break down.
Wow. Holy cow, guys! I'm gonna wind down with this. We're gonna go here because I don't even know how this is gonna chill me out. But imagine this chills. This is gonna chill me out. But wow, guys, that is insane. That is just absolutely insane. How guys, the amount of damage one president can do to our country is beyond belief. When you look at Biden and all of the people he let into this country illegally, you look at these people that I just showed you, that lady, what was her name? Nancy Abudu from the Southern Poverty Law Center, Biden thought would be a wonderful pick as a lifetime judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals, 11th Circuit. That just is beyond belief. Absolutely mind-blowing. And that's crazy. And then I have Alex here says Barack Obama was even worse. Man, I don't even know if I could take that. I'm gonna have to take some blood pressure medicine if I'm gonna dive into what Barack Obama did. But I can only take so much. No, I'm kidding. So anyway, what I'm about to show you now is the evidence that they found on the shooter. So let's move on. Let's keep going. We have here the evidence. Look at what you see on your screen right here. There you are. And let's go. This happened live moments ago today, or maybe an hour or two ago today. So check this out. This just came out.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for being here. On Saturday night, as you all know, an act of violence occurred at a gathering that symbolizes something fundamental to our system of government.
Let me turn the volume up a little bit here. 1 second.
The ability of a free press and public officials to come together in celebration and not fear. The act was stopped because of the courage and, that horrible act was stopped because of the courage and professionalism of law enforcement. The officers who responded without hesitation and did their jobs as they were trained to do. Secret Service agents promptly tackled and detained the suspect, Cole Thomas Allen. The president and all the protectees and participants at the dinner were safe. One brave officer was injured and is receiving care and has been released from the hospital. I want to make this clear. This man was a floor above the ballroom with hundreds of federal agents between him and the President of the United States. The Department of Justice approaches incidents like this with urgency and clarity of purpose. Violence has no place in civic life. It cannot and will not be used to disrupt democratic institutions or intimidate those who serve them, and it certainly cannot continue to be used against the President of the United States. We are investigating this matter fully. We will apply the law fairly, and we will ensure that accountability is swift and certain. But we also should recognize what did not happen. Law enforcement did not fail. They did exactly what they are trained to do.
We're about to get into where Janine Pirro starts talking about what happened, and she's going to share information about the weapons used. You're going to see on your screen pretty soon all the different, you're going to see here, these different weapons. We're going to go through that in a second. I'm going to pull up this manifesto real quick. I'm sure you guys have heard about this, seen it online, but I'm going to pull this up so we can just take a quick peek because it's pretty chilling, guys. This thing is and now they just put a warning on it just to even look at it. Wow. All right, here we go. Let's check this out. So this should be on your screen right now. Let me make this a little larger so I can read this to you. Because there's a few parts in there that just trip you out. It says, so I may be giving a lot of people a surprise today. Let me start off by apologizing to everyone. This is the manifesto from the guy, okay? This is not me. I'm reading what's on your screen. Again, guys, this is the manifesto, okay? So just making that very crystal clear. So I may have been giving a lot of people a surprise today. Let me start off by apologizing to everyone whose trust I abused. I apologize to my parents. So he's apologizing to his parents. He's apologizing to his colleagues. Apologizing. Okay. I apologize to all the people I travel with. I targeted people. Okay. Who handle my luggage. What is this target people? I apologize to everyone who abused. Okay. I apologize to everyone who was abused and or murdered before this, to all those who suffered before I was able to attempt this. So what are you saying? You saying you're like some kind of vigilante? You're like some kind of Peter Pan? What are you here, bro? What exactly are you doing here? To all those who suffered before I was able to attempt this, to all who may suffer after, regardless of my success or failure. I don't expect forgiveness, but if I could have seen any other way to get this close, I would have taken it. Again, my sincere apologies. On to why I did this. I'm a citizen of the United States of America. What my representatives do reflects on me. And I am no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, traitor to coat my hand. Okay, so here is what I wanted to get into, guys, right here, okay? And those of you that have been on my live streams, you know what I'm talking about when I say what I'm about to say, okay? So here is a guy who went out to take out our president and all of the top people in his cabinet. And Min, Jen, Nurse Terry, Beautiful Bill, AJ, a lot of you guys that are in the chat right now, you guys know. As you could see what Rodrigo just said in the chat, this is exactly what I want to discuss. Okay? This is exactly what I want to discuss. And that is the issue that we have. Okay? So I'm going to read this again, and I just wanted to make this clear. It says here, let's go right to this thing. Let's go back, actually. Where is this? Where did he put this? Right in the middle. It says, I am no longer willing to permit a pedo, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. So, what the left has done, they have convinced all the rhetoric from their leaders, their political leaders, have convinced these people of things that are not true. And then not only do we have them, as you guys know, coming into my chat, calling Trump a pedo and calling all of the people around him pedos, calling them pedo supporters, calling me a pedo supporter because I sometimes wear this lovely hat right here. Okay. So not only are they calling them pedo, they're calling us pedos, they're calling us pedo protectors and all this other kind of stuff. And you see Rodrigo says he's a pedo loser. He's caught on tape screaming about blog. There is no evidence whatsoever, even in the millions of documents of Epstein docs and all this stuff and everything else. There is nothing pointing towards Trump being a pedo or a rapist or traitor or any of these things. Not even one. Not even one of those things. Let me put it back on your screen so you can see it. See if I could make that a little bit bigger for you. Let's see. Does it? Here you go. Oh, no. It's going to be. So it's right there in the center of the screen. So that is just one of those things. They have no evidence for it, yet they all are screaming it as loud as they can in every corner of the planet, to the point where they have these lunatics coming out, writing manifestos, because they're convicted in this idea. They are convinced of this idea that Trump is this thing that he clearly is not. And they call me the same thing. They do it to all of us. They do it to everybody. And they lost the election, and then they lost their minds. They lost the election, and then they lost their minds. And some of them went completely nuts. And now we have a president who has had more attempts on his life than any other president in our life. Literally, not as there's no president that's had this many attempts on his life, because these people are driving their voters and their constituents and their followers and their sheep. They have convinced them that Trump is all of these things that he's not. And it's just I find it's just absolutely insane. So we live in a very weird time, and it just makes absolutely no sense. As I said in my other video, come up with a good idea. I want Democrats to do well. Come up with good ideas. Come up with good plans. Come up with good things, good policies to help our country, to help our people, to help your people. Even if it doesn't help the people, let's say it only helps your people. Who cares? Come up with some good ideas, dude. You know what I mean? All of the different things that you've done to Trump, in every which way, whether it's via impeachment efforts, whether it's criminal charges, whether it's attempts on his life, whether it's all the other voter fraud and everything else that you've done to Trump, has only made him stronger, better, more popular, more solid in his position that he's in. So it just, first of all, I hate Trump is not saying I hate Trump or having just an I hate Trump mentality, or your whole campaign being about hating Trump, or you wanting to get elected, which a lot of the Democratic politicians right now that want to get elected, their whole selling point to their voters is I will push against Trump. I will go against Trump. I will vote to impeach Trump. All of these things are making him stronger. And doing these things are not plans. Saying I hate Trump is not a plan. Saying I'm going to try to impeach Trump if you elect me is not a plan. It's not a policy. It's not something good to help your vote. There's no winner. There's no winner. Then there has not been, and there will never be. We're going on 10 years now, plus 12 years now, that all you're doing is playing a lose-lose game. Makes no sense. You Democrats and me as a Republican, conservative voting person, still, I want Democrats to do better because it's better for my party too. It's better for my country. It's better for all of us Americans. If the Democrat Party has great ideas, then the Republicans have to come up with even better ideas to sell us on. It's better for all of us. Right now, you guys it's like a race to the bottom. Who can be the worst human being? It makes no sense. It's an absolute joke. And again, it's a lose-lose. You make Trump stronger because you don't impeach him and he gets more popular. You guys tried to take him out how many times and it only helped him get elected. Now you try to do it again. What are you doing? Expect more from your Democratic leaders. Expect more from the people you're voting for. It's not cool. And it doesn't help. What do you get? You're getting nothing done, dude. You guys get nothing done. It's sad. It's hard to watch, dude. It's all, and it's again, it's hurtful for all of us. You could be making our side of the aisle stronger too, and you're not. What a joke, dude. What a joke. Honestly, what a joke. Let's go back to the video. Let's go.
System starts today. Todd Blanche just indicated to you the charges. Those charges are only 3 charges that are in the complaint that has been presented in federal district court about an hour ago. There will be additional charges as this investigation continues to unfold. But make no mistake, this was an attempted assassination of the President of the United States, with the defendant making clear what his intent was. And that intent was to bring down as many of the high-ranking cabinet officials as he could. This is the kind of situation that we cannot tolerate. And as the Attorney General has just indicated, it could have been so much worse, but for the reality that we had the Secret Service as well as the Metropolitan Police Department and the FBI. Now, the facts make it very clear what this intent was. You may recall that it was on March 2nd that the president indicated that he would be attending this public event at the Hilton. And on April 6th, that's when Cole Allen first made a hotel reservation at the Washington Hilton for 3 nights, the 24th, the 25th, and the 26th. It was on April 21st that he traveled all the way from the West Coast, from his home near L.A. He gets to Chicago on April 23rd and has been indicated he arrives in D.C. on the 24th, and he checks into the hotel at about 3 p.m. He stays overnight. He is very much aware that the president and the first lady entered the ballroom at 8 p.m. And it was at 8:40 that he made a decision to rush the ballroom. And thank goodness, law enforcement, the Secret Service, was able to prevent him from getting into that ballroom. He was not injured other than some kind of scrape on his knee. Now, as indicated, these are the weapons that the defendant had on his person. You can see that's a 12-gauge pump-action Mossberg shotgun.
Here we go. Here's the evidence we talked about, guys. So 12-gauge pump-action Mossberg. That's one of the firearms that he used.
Gun. It's a .38 semi-automatic. He had at least 3 knives and all kinds of paraphernalia. So any suggestion that he wasn't there to do harm is absurd. We will prove when he purchased these guns. They were purchased in California. Why is that relevant? It is relevant because he crossed interstate lines with those firearms. And those are the firearms that he used on the night of the 25th, or attempted to use at the very least. Now, the manifesto also makes clear about his expected rules of engagement. You know, you can look at it and read it, and it may seem kind of la, but at the end, make no mistake, he says, I am targeting the administration officials. They are my targets, and I'm prioritizing from the top down, the highest ranking from the lowest. And I will not hesitate to get involved in any kind of encounter with anyone who blocks me from the president. Now, finally, let me say one thing. Within days of the president nomination,
I don't usually drink soda, bro, but I think it was Jen that was asking, I believe. But this is a little Coke Zero I had, and I saw it in the fridge, and I grabbed it. I'm like, damn, I kind of fiend for it, but I typically don't.
Me to be the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, I was at the scene of a double homicide where one Elias Rodriguez crossed state lines from Chicago with a firearm to commit a felony in the district. He's now indicted for the murder of two individuals, Laron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram, here in Washington. Not long after that, another individual, Ramanullah Lockenwall, crossed state lines, again with a firearm, with intent to commit a felony here in Washington. He traveled from the state of Washington. He is now indicted with the murder of Sarah Beckstrom, a National Guardsman, and the attempted murder of National Guard Andrew Wolf.
Crazy.
Today, we have Cole Allen, another individual, charged with crossing state lines coming from California with a firearm with the intent to commit a felony here in the district. Let this be a message to anyone who thinks that Washington, D.C. is the place to act out political violence. And if you are willing to do so with a firearm and cross state lines, we will find you. We will track your steps from the inception of your plan, and we will prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. Washington, D.C. is not the place to travel to commit acts of violence. The Constitution and the laws of the United States permit us to register our views through our voices and our votes. What they don't permit is making your views known through violence, especially violence directed at the President of the United States. This is anti-democratic at its core.
Thank you, Judge.
It is anti-democratic, and I can't. We're all thinking about Charlie Kirk as well, and it's just a crazy, crazy time that we live in, where these people decide that they got to take people out. You know, there's no reason. There's no reason anybody should be doing any of this kind of bullshit. It's completely, absolutely absurd. But the rhetoric is bad, and the way people respond to Charlie Kirk is, for speaking his mind and going and talking to people. It's and the way they're doing this now to Trump and everyone else. It's just crazy, guys. And again, I have something I'm going to show you here. This right here is a article written by Thomas Sowell. I just read this morning. I read in the morning as part of my morning routine, and it talks about the less vocabulary. Now, it's not what we want to talk about, the vocabulary that they're using that's causing people to do this crazy shit that just took place with the president and trying to take out the president and his whole cabinet. But it's other vocabulary that the left uses. It's called the left vocabulary. We'll get into some of that stuff. It's a 2-pager. It's a simple 2-pager. We'll get into it. And I'm just going to show you a quick sentence or two, but it's pretty interesting. But anyway, I just wanted to let you know we're going to get into that in a sec.
Excuse me. Thank you, General. This one hits a little differently. We were all there. Many of you were there.
That's what I was mentioning right after it happened on live. We're watching President Trump speak about it live from the White House. It's crazy because every single reporter that was sitting there in that press room was also in the freaking correspondence dinner. They were all dressed beautifully. They were all gorgeous. All the guys had their bow ties on. It was a black tie event, and it was wild. I was explaining to you guys when we were watching that when the reporters were asking questions moments after the shooting, they had a way different tone than they normally do when they're in that. And we're going to see, because I have a White House press briefing. I have this that we're going to look at. This is that same room that Trump was in. Now you see this audience. All of these people were at that correspondence dinner, because that's the dinner. That's what it is. But they were all there when it happened, and they heard the shots. They were involved. It was right there for them as well. And so for the first time, you saw them have compassion and empathy for Donald Trump. And it was a weird thing. It was a trippy thing to see. And I made a point of that when we were watching it live together. and it was just a crazy thing. It was crazy. You saw all of the reporters and anchors dressed up in beautiful gowns and dresses, guys in bow ties, and they're all super nice all of a sudden, asking all these, wow, what happened? Why did this happen? What are we doing to make sure this doesn't happen again? And all of that kind of stuff, as opposed to bashing President Trump, bashing the administration, bashing our country. It sucks that something like that has to happen for them to tap into that empathy and to tap into that side, because it wasn't nice. I want to say it's nice to see, but that's not the word for it. It was just a change, and it was weird. It was different, it was different. And we're going to jump in and see what they're like, because this happened earlier today, this White House press briefing. But when that happened live, it was fucking weird, man. It was so bizarre. I felt good for Trump, even though he had just gone through yet another assassination. I felt good for Trump in a way where, like, before you're like, man, why they keep beating on him and beating on him and beating on him, and then all of a sudden they had that press briefing after the attempted assassination, and they were nice to him. And I was like, damn, all right, cool. I don't know. It's a weird thing, man. But let's go back.
Many of you watching were there as well. The president was there. The vice president was there. The cabinet was there. And what you saw described by the general and the U.S. attorney is absolutely true. The president spoke on late Saturday evening with the message of unity and a backing of law enforcement, and we have followed through on that message of unity and the effectuation of law enforcement across this country. This FBI is grateful to the United States Secret Service, the Department of Homeland Security, and our interagency partners, including the Metropolitan Police Department, for swiftly jumping into action. All of us on there put us in a unique position, but all of us also acted uniquely. The Washington field office jumped into action immediately, sending a mobile command center to the scene, along with our evidence response technicians, who showed up in speedy fashion to make sure we could collect the evidence that the prosecutors and the department needed to make this announcement today. Also on scene, you were told about the brave heroics of the United States Secret Service and other members of law enforcement. And that should be celebrated by every single American. They did exactly what they were trained to do. They stopped a massive attack from becoming even worse. They stood in the way, they safeguarded America, and they should be nothing but applauded for their bravery and their dedication to their mission and their selfless sacrifice to this country. The FBI, along with standing up mobile command units, evidence tech response team, and Washington SWAT on scene, also established our NC3, our National Crisis Coordination Center, almost immediately. And almost immediately in parallel, we stood up our command center at the Washington field office under ADIC Darren Cox's leadership. Throughout the evening, we immediately began working with our
we don't want to get too far into the weeds on this.
Department of Justice reviews are ongoing.
As you know, there was a little bit through it.
Almost 2,000 people there. We are sifting through and prioritizing who to talk to and urgency that was needed for the moment that we had to answer.
As the manifesto.
Okay, here we go. Here's some questions.
We've been celebrating free speech, but we will be doing it again shortly, as the president said, and we look forward to seeing you all there.
What up, Benjamin? One love, bro.
Pierre.
Two questions, please. Beyond the evidence and what the judge described as the manifesto, what other evidence can you point to that tells us that the president was the primary target of the suspect?
So we're a day and a half into the investigation. As we talked about earlier, we were able to get multiple devices from various locations, the hotel room and also his where he lived in California. We have started that process. There's nothing more that would be appropriate to share at this time until we have thoroughly gone through it, which we're doing, and we'll share that information as appropriate in the future. Second question, go ahead.
Beyond the assassination attempts against President Trump, you had someone try to burn down the mansion where the governor lives in Pennsylvania. You had those state lawmakers attacked in Minnesota. You've had 2 Israeli embassy staff members murdered in the city here. You had the Charlie Kirk assassination. You had the National Guardsman killed in the city. Can you, each of you, describe the current threat environment and what DOJ's stance is about it?
Well, you just described the current threat.
Wow, what a question that was. Holy cow.
Environment pretty accurately, which is that the political violence and rhetoric has got to stop. And that's something President Trump said right after the incident on Saturday night. It's something that Carolyn Levitt talked about a couple hours ago. It is something that is, when you have a president who and many people in this room, if we're going to be honest about it, has done it as well. They're just as guilty as a lot of people on X. When you have reporters, when you have media just being overly critical and calling the president horrible names for no reason and without evidence, without proof, it shouldn't surprise us that this type of rhetoric takes place. If you look at what it appears that this defendant had in his past, we're talking about somebody who is college educated, who has a job, who is otherwise living his life, and we'll find out more about him, as I expect, in the coming days and weeks. But he chose to do what he did, and so our threat environment is we are ready. I mean, I'm not going to go through what Director Patel just talked about with the way we responded, but this was something that we will always be prepared for, and it's sad that it has to happen, but it's not a new thing, unfortunately. Same.
Have you been able to determine whether the gunman fired shots, if so, how many shots he fired, and who exactly, whose bullet hit the agent?
We want to get that right. So we're still looking at that. It appears, and I don't want to overstate because we are still looking at this, that there were five shots that law enforcement fired. We have all the evidence is being examined very carefully and expeditiously, and we'll know more soon. We do believe that, as the complaint lays out, that the suspect, that the defendant fired it out of his shotgun, and we know that happened. But as far as getting into exacting ballistics, I'm not going to do that today because it's still being looked at and finalized.
Thank you for taking my question. You personally have called for a construction of this ballroom at the White House. The president has called for this as well. Today, the National Trust president put out a statement, says that they're grateful that everybody's okay, but, and I quote, "We are not planning to voluntarily dismiss our lawsuit, which endangers no one, and which respectfully ask the administration to follow the law. Ballroom construction is continuing unabated until June 5th at the earliest because the injunction is on hold." Where does the Justice Department go from here? And then I have a follow-up on that.
Well, we filed a motion today asking the court to do what the plaintiffs refused to do. We absolutely believe that there is no better example of why this ballroom is necessary, aside from all the very positive things the ballroom will bring to this country and to Washington, D.C., than what happened on Saturday night. You guys, many of you all were there. That's one of the only places in D.C. that you can hold an event like that due to its size and the structure of what we need. So we're basically stuck at this point in this city with having an event like that at a hotel, so underneath a ton of hotel rooms. And so the fact that we, aside from the fact that the ballroom is spectacular, it's going to be beautiful, it's going to make this country look great every time it's used, it's also a meaningful safety issue. And so I very much wish that the plaintiffs and their counsel would take a different view, but if they don't, we are going to continue to fight in court like we have been, and hopefully the judges at the D.C. Circuit Court will do the right thing.
Are you aware of...
Not you, the red.
Thank you. Are you investigating connections that Cole Allen allegedly had to left-wing groups? I think one is called the Wide Awakes, reportedly.
Yes. Of course we're investigating that. Now you.
Are you aware of his video game development past, including a potential shooter-style RPG game?
I've seen the news reports that talk about that. I think that the positive and negatives of this type of case is that there's a lot of people investigating this man right now, including the FBI. But the only investigations that truly matter in the court of law are the ones that Director Patel and his men and women are doing. So we'll wait for them to do that and get an answer.
Follow up, just really quick. Do you know anything about his alleged Christian faith past? Because he said something about it in the manifesto.
I have read reports in the news, and I've read reports that say various things regarding his views of Christianity, his views in the past of Christianity, and I'm certainly not going to speak to news reports. I will wait, as I hope all of you would, for the investigation to continue until we actually have answers. Yeah.
Just a little technical question. You mentioned that you guys, so far, you think that Allen fired at least one shot. That doesn't say that in the affidavit yet, so I'm just curious if you can explain the discharging of weapon charge at this point.
Well, he's charged with violating 924C, discharge of a firearm during a crime of violence. So by definition, that charge means that it was discharged. I can tell you from what I know, with the understanding that we're a day and a half in, that this is the gun that he discharged. And as those of us that have ever shot one of these know, what happens when you shoot that is the casing stays inside the firearm, and then if you reload it, it pops it out. My understanding is that it was inside the firearm, but hadn't been ejected, which means that it hadn't been pulled back again. But again, I want folks to understand, I'm the acting attorney general. I'm not on the ground doing the investigation, so I'm telling you what I've been told, and we'll, if that information changes, I'm sure that we'll let you know. Yeah.
Just want to ask you about this letter that you posted yesterday that's sent from Brett Shumate to the plaintiffs in that lawsuit. It says that the Washington Hilton is, quote, demonstrably unsafe for the President of the United States. It said that with the ballroom, that Trump will no longer need to venture beyond the safety of the White House perimeter. Just engaging with those lines, was there an assessment in advance of the dinner that the Hilton was demonstrably unsafe? And if so, why was President Trump allowed to attend it? And then separately, just the idea that by building the ballroom that President Trump wouldn't need to go outside of the confines of the White House. I mean, is that something that the American people, should find acceptable, that the president would have to be, for major events, confined to the White House? It seems like kind of a castle situation.
That is obviously not what he means by that. And the fact that question comes with respect to President Trump is laughable in the extreme. I mean, laughable in the extreme. You have a president who willingly speaks with you guys multiple times a day, I would say 7 days a week. He is active all over the country. I think with that, keeping it to the four corners of that statement, when he says demonstrably, it's demonstrated by what happened on Saturday night. So that doesn't mean that the Secret Service would ever let the president go into an unsafe environment. I know that the director of the Secret Service will be focused on making sure that we always keep him safe. And by the way, as we said before, and as anybody that was in that room knows, we were safe. We were safe. We heard a lot of loud noises that at the time many of us thought could be guns going off. It was mostly plates falling because of the staff, understandably, were running. So my reaction to that is I'll leave anything with respect to security up to the great men and women of the Secret Service. But when we talk about having an environment like the ballroom, it's an environment like what you saw last night. So an environment where you have a unique blend of cabinet members, leadership of this country, leadership of Congress, reporters and members of the public coming together for an event like that. That's different than other public-facing situations, which I have no doubt President Trump will continue to do, as he said he would on Saturday night. Yeah.
Thank you. Is there, for FBI Director Patel, is there any other credible threats at this time related to events in the city, including King Charles? And then separately, the manifesto, I don't really want to give too much weight to this, did mention your name in it as someone that they maybe were not targeting. Do you want to kind of elaborate on that? And then also the political motivations there.
As to the latter, no. As to the former, the FBI and the interagency is constantly evaluating intelligence provided to us by interagency collection methods. Our partners in the federal and state and local levels, we are constantly relaying that information to the White House, to the Attorney General, to the United States Attorney, specifically here in D.C. And we will always assess each piece of intelligence and base it on the credibility that it was received and give it the due weight that it had.
I want to just put this on the screen here. Linda says, media, this is a little while ago, says, media needs to be reformed. They need to end propaganda, and they must stop dividing Americans. It's infuriating to watch. I agree we have a problem, but our free press and our freedom of speech in our country allows people to say and do what they want. And the reason I want to bring this up is because I'm hoping that our answer to this problem is us, the people that are digesting this information, that are choosing who to view, who to watch, who to follow. Hopefully, at some point, we are going to want people that are giving us better information, correct information, stories that are true, things that are important, things that are meaningful. Give us information that's valuable so that we can make better decisions for ourselves, vote for better people, make better decisions again. But, we live in a free country, and as much as this stuff doesn't make sense, we can't go and I'm not a fan of forcing people to do different things, especially when, our country is based on the freedom. I think our freedom to choose as consumers will eventually get us to a better place. We're just not there yet. You know what I mean? That's the problem is unfortunately, we're just not there yet. This is going to take us a little bit longer to get there, but we're not there yet. We just have to choose to digest and consume better information. And I think it's happening. Mainstream media, lamestream media, and some of this other stuff that's just getting under all of our skins and creating people that are doing all this wacky stuff. I think I think they're going by the wayside. Their viewership is down. They're making less money. They're not as relevant as they used to be, and people are finding better ways to gather information for themselves and to be entertained. A lot of this is entertainment. So, and some of that is actually in what I was about to show you here in this thing right here. So, on this screen, I took some notes, but some of that is here in the left's vocabulary. Kind of what they're doing to us here and the words they use to convince us of different things. So anyway.
But as the U.S. Attorney has stated, and as President Trump's task force for Washington, D.C. has shown, we have reduced crime in this city by historic levels, and we will continue to do so. We will continue to safeguard the men and women that call Washington, D.C. their home.
All right, just a couple more.
Acting Attorney General, in paragraph 14 of the complaint today, it says that the suspect fell, and you said that he was tackled. I just want to see if we can try to make sure we understand.
Well, I think that both can be true.
Yeah. Okay.
And I would rely on the complaint because that was sworn to by an agent and not by the words out of the acting Attorney General, who most certainly was not there. But I think
there's this person, Barir Rashid, I don't know, looks like maybe he's a Muslim, says here, Trump is in deep doo-doo. Trump is hated by 99% of the population. It's actually the opposite. It's, again, man, this is, you guys, what do we call this on our channel? Confession through projection. The Democrats, the people on the left, I mean, he may not even be a Democrat, but the people on the left here that are saying Trump is hated by 99% of the world, this is confession through projection. This is the left. Democrats are the least popular they've ever been in the history of politics. And Trump is one of the most, is very popular and is very much supported. And you're going to see, there's a video here, actually. We'll jump back, but I'm going to do a little back and forth on it. So look at this. Look at the market. Watch this. Look what the market's doing. And contrary to what you guys say on the left, you guys say Trump is ruining the markets. What he's doing is going to destroy the markets and all this kind of other stuff. The economy, right? Listen to this.
And up there with Trump taking down Maduro. The president knows the
Let me give it some volume. Here you go.
stakes.
I don't want to rush it because you guys are, trying to make us look as bad as possible. I don't want to rush it. I want to take my time. We have plenty of time, and I want to get a great deal. I want to get a deal where our nation and the world is safe from lunatics with nuclear weapons.
The markets, they're bullish. Yesterday, the S&P and NASDAQ hit all-time highs.
It's a success story if you're in the White House right now, the stock market is, and you can see it right here. Okay, S&P 500 shifts at this point in a presidency. You know, coming into today at the close of yesterday, look at this, up 19%. That is higher than the average president since 2001, when it was up 15%, and way, way higher than the average presidency since 1961, up 6%. So this stock market has been up like a rocket, and no wonder the president of the United States wants to talk about it.
They predicted $200 barrel oil. Didn't happen. They predicted a recession. They predicted mass casualties. So far, none of that's happened. So why trust the people who keep getting it wrong? How could you have the upper hand when you don't have a hand?
They keep getting it wrong. The people on the left keep getting it wrong. And it's just absolute. It's just sad to watch. But again, it's projection. They're projecting how bad they're doing onto Trump. Let's go back to our video.
Both can be true.
Well, the U.S. Attorney yesterday also mentioned that one of the charges possibly would be for assault on an officer, and I noticed today it's a different charge. Is this because you've determined that what he shot didn't actually strike the officer?
Thank you very much. We're still looking at that, and I think that's something that you'll hear about in the coming days as we know the answer to that. It doesn't legally matter in that situation, but you know, when after an event like this happens, not surprisingly, there's initial charges that we consider. Then you have the U.S. Attorney's team and the FBI looking through the evidence and figuring out what's the best thing to do, and that's what you have. Right? Just one more question. Yeah.
I have two quick questions. One,
All right, two
I
questions.
just wanted to clarify. You said the one officer fired their weapon 5 times. Was that the only officer who discharged a firearm?
I want to be very careful in answering that question because this is when you do ballistics. Evidentiary collection and research, it is very complicated. So when you fire a bullet, the bullet ends up somewhere. Sometimes you find it, sometimes you don't. And so from that, with that qualifier, we believe right now that there was 5 shots fired from the same firearm. But there's a team of folks looking at this that are experts, and the evidence collection team that were in that area of the hotel where the shots were fired have worked all night. They have the evidence they collected, but it's not an exact science from the standpoint that, for example, the buckshot, when that shot, it scatters everywhere, and sometimes it just disappears, actually, depending on where it hits. So you don't have to, hopefully with that qualifier, that's where we are right now.
Question about the timeline, sir.
Hold on.
I just wanted to ask what law enforcement has learned about why he was targeting President Trump. Do you guys believe he was upset about a certain policy or a decision by the president?
The complaint lays out what I think is described as a manifesto, which is something that he allegedly sent to many folks, his family. That's what we have so far as his motivation. As the U.S. Attorney said a few minutes ago, what is clear from the complaint and from what we have so far is he was targeting President Trump. He described that in his manifesto. He was targeting administration officials. He described that. But as far as us understanding additional motivation, that's for the FBI and law enforcement. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Can you address the Amtrak security measures? Will there be any announcement?
All right, guys. So that was the evidence that they presented. They showed the weapons. They showed everything. They gave us information on what happened, and it's just another one of those crazy moments in our history, guys. We live in a time where our current president he's no matter what, he's doing what he knows is the right thing to do because he has political willpower. He's doing it regardless of the pushback that he's going to get. And there's no other president that will do that. That takes guts. There was one other president. His name was Reagan. He was a great president. And we'll talk more about him on another episode, another show. But Reagan did that. Everyone thought he was nuts. Reagan, here's the funny part about him. They didn't even think he could get things done. They counted him out. And he ended up being one of the most consequential presidents of of the history of our country. But here, let's check this out. This is the very much pregnant Carolyn Levitt with a press briefing just today. This just happened.
Good afternoon, everyone. Later today, President Trump and the First Lady will welcome King Charles and Queen Camilla for a state visit here at the White House. First Lady Melania Trump has led all of the preparation for the state visit, which will honor the long-standing and special relationship between the United States and the United Kingdom. As I told many of you on Friday afternoon, I thought that would be my last time taking your questions until after my maternity leave. But given the attempted assassination of the president and, quote, top Trump administration officials, as the depraved shooter noted in his manifesto at the White House Correspondents Association dinner on Saturday evening, I felt it was prudent to be here today to answer your questions and inform the American people about how the administration is responding to yet another attempt on President Trump's life. Saturday was supposed to be a joyful evening, celebrating free speech and the First Amendment with all of you, members of the press. Instead, the night was hijacked by a crazed anti-Trump individual who traveled across the country to assassinate the president and as many administration officials as possible. This is the third major assassination attempt against President Trump in 2 years. No other president in history has faced such repeated, serious attempts on his life. First and foremost, the President, the First Lady, and everyone in this White House are extraordinarily grateful to the brave law enforcement professionals who sprang into action to apprehend the would-be assassin and keep all of us safe. The President would especially like to express his gratitude to the men and women of the United States Secret Service who acted with the utmost professionalism, courage, and sense of duty. This includes the heroic agent who took a bullet to the chest. Thankfully, he was saved by his bulletproof vest. Minutes after returning here to the White House to the Oval Office, despite fighting Secret Service to try to stay and keep the dinner going on Saturday, ahead of addressing you here in the briefing room, President Trump was intent on speaking to this brave agent to ensure he was okay. And the agent assured the president that he was. As you know, I was seated next to President Trump and the First Lady when the shots were fired before Secret Service swiftly moved us to safety backstage. The president's calm in the face of chaos, while yet another individual was trying to take his life, was really remarkable to witness, and it's something I will never forget. President Trump is fearless because he loves this country, and he is willing to put his own life on the line to deliver on the promises that he made to the American public who elected him here into the highest office in the land. And while we are blessed to have a fearless president, we should not live in a country where such constant fear of political violence permeates our society every single day. We can and we should have fierce disagreement in this country. As you all know, we disagree often, myself in this role and all of you in the news media, but those disagreements must remain peaceful. Debating, peaceful protesting, and voting are how we need to settle disagreements, not bullets. Nobody in recent years has faced more bullets and more violence than President Trump. This political violence stems from a systemic demonization of him and his supporters by commentators, yes, by elected members of the Democrat Party, and even some in the media. This hateful and constant and violent rhetoric
Some people that are in the room right now that she's speaking to.
Directed at President Trump day after day after day for 11 years has helped to legitimize this violence and bring us to this dark moment. Those who constantly falsely label and slander the president as a fascist, as a threat to democracy, and compare him to Hitler to score political points are fueling this kind of violence. The left-wing cult of hatred against the president and all of those who support him and work for him has gotten multiple people hurt and killed, and it almost did so again this weekend. When you read the manifesto of the
See you later, men, and see you later. I think it was Gays for Trump, right? And I'm not leaving. I just was saying bye to these guys. And then I had someone in here say, y'all Americans are as dumb as your orange president. You wish you lived in America, bro, please. Haters. How does that song go? How you hating? You can't even get into the club. How you hating from outside? You ain't even get in the club.
This shooter, ask yourselves, how different is the rhetoric from this almost assassin than what you read on social media and hear in various forums every single day? The answer, if you're being honest with yourself, is that there is no difference at all. Much of the manifesto of the would-be assassin is indistinguishable from the words that we hear daily from so many. For example, as the First Lady of the United States pointed out this morning, just 2 days prior to the shooting, ABC's late-night host Jimmy Kimmel disgustingly called First Lady Melania Trump an expectant widow. Who in their right minds says a wife would be glowing over the potential murder of her beloved husband? And having experienced what I did with the First Lady on Saturday night, I can tell you that she was anything but that. This kind of rhetoric about the president, the First Lady, and his supporters is completely deranged, and it's unbelievable that the American people are consuming it night after night after night. As President Trump said on Saturday night at this podium, we as Americans must recommit ourselves to resolving our differences peacefully and uniting around the shared values that make our country great. The deranged lies and smears against the president, his family, his supporters have led crazy people to believe crazy things, and they are inspired to commit violence because of those words. It has to stop. And one more point. Saturday night served as yet another reminder of how important.
Just real quick, I want to read this comment. It says here, literally, those types of comments crack me up. You wish you could, where is this thing? You wish you could be here in America. We have traveled all over. Every single sentiment is, I wish I could come visit America and live here. Ha ha. Exactly. That's the reality. I've traveled all over the world, and everyone wishes they could come to America and live here and be part of our free market capitalist system and be part of the wonderful things that we're doing here in America with the opportunities for growth. The problem is we created an environment where lazy people get rewarded, and now the American dream is to sit on your ass and complain and point fingers at everyone else but yourself. And that's what we've done. We did it to ourselves. This welfare, this social welfare that we give to people and pay people for doing nothing. We incentivize people to do nothing. Our forefathers would be pissed if they knew what's going on right now.
Important it is to fund the Department of Homeland Security. It is shameful that the United States Congress has kept this vital agency defunded for 73 days. The longest shutdown of a federal agency in U.S. history. The Secret Service is a vital component of DHS. It has been directly impacted by this reckless political gamesmanship. Everyone in this room who was there on Saturday night witnessed the heroes of Secret Service and federal law enforcement jump into action in the face of grave danger and uncertainty. Agents put their own lives in harm's way to protect the president, the First Lady, the Vice President, and members of the cabinet. One agent can be seen in video footage literally jumping onto the stage, not knowing where the attacker was or where the bullets were coming from at that point, to place his body in front of the President of the United States. These men and women are heroes. They perform their duties daily, and they have children and families too. And they do it despite the political turmoil surrounding their agency. Make no mistake, this defunding of DHS should be a national scandal.
It is a national scandal. And listen to this. This person's name is actually Mass Deportation USA. He says, America is the only place, and this is true. He says, America is the only place people die trying to break into. That's literally what it is. And then you got Arlo Venturi says, where choice is king. That's the free market world, free market capitalism. You're free to make choices. You're free to hire people. You're free to work somewhere. You're free to choose not to. You're free to not buy stuff. You're free to buy from other competitors. You're free to do whatever you want in this country. But then we turn it into a welfare state because the left decided that men are too manly. And then and listen, You have someone right here from Canada. Where's that? This guy said, I'm from Canada, and it's some, I don't know, something wrong with. Oh yeah, I passed it. Damn, I missed it. But everyone wants to be here, and you should. I'm born and raised here. I'm in California. I've been around the world. There's all the reason in the world to want to live the rest of your life in United States of America. The freedom and opportunity is amazing. If you don't let the leftist ideology get to you, you'll be good. You'll be good. Problem is they created so much welfare all the welfare systems that you got lefties losing it all over the place. You just got to avoid them. Just go anywhere they're not,
If Republicans,
like in Southern California, I'm in Orange County. You won't catch me living in Los Angeles. And I got lots of friends in Los Angeles. I'll come visit y'all. But you won't catch me living there, man. It's not my cup of tea. I'll be right here. I'm good in Orange County. I'm chilling.
Republicans defunded DHS, and we saw in another attempted assassination on a Democrat president, I would hope that the media coverage would be relentless and unforgiving, and I hope that it continues to be now. With the World Cup, America 250, the 2028 Olympics, and a presidential election all ahead, the Democrats' obstruction is placing an enormous and totally pointless burden on the Secret Service that can get more people killed.
We got someone losing it in the chat. Look at this. Madison lost it. Says, I would never move to your shithole country. LOL. F America. Is it possible to be a bigger hater than Madison? I don't know. Can someone outdo Madison? That's a lot of hate, bro. Woo! Oh, how you hating from outside the club? You can't even get in. Lego.
Enough is enough. There should be no further debate about this. Democrats need to do what President Trump has been calling on them to do for 73 days in a row and fund the Department of Homeland Security, period. This is a national emergency, and every member of Congress needs to put their country over party and get the Department of Homeland Security funded. With that, I will take a few of your questions today. Daniel, thank you for being here. Why don't you kick us off?
Thank you, Caroline. The president, Saturday after the assassination attempt came here, he emphasized that law enforcement did their job in keeping everyone safe over dinner. House Speaker Mike Johnson came out and said he believes the president needs greater protection. What is the White House's message to the millions of Americans who wake up here today nervous, uneasy about the safety of the president at events like this and the safety of other cabinet members?
Well, we certainly understand their fears and their worries. As you heard from the president himself, he continues to have trust in the United States Secret Service. As I just said, these are great men and women who are doing their jobs and performing their duties honorably. As we all witnessed on Saturday evening, within minutes, the president, the first lady, the vice president, members of the president's cabinet were ushered out of the room. The perpetrator who sought to inflict massive harm, as we all now know with the release of the manifesto on administration officials and the president himself, was stopped at the security perimeter that was set up. He tried to charge through it, as you saw on video, and he was quickly neutralized by Secret Service, and thank God that he was. With that said, obviously the White House is always asking the tough questions and ensuring the safety of the president. I understand there will be a meeting early this week convened by the White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles with top DHS leadership, members of the United States Secret Service, and our own operations team here to ensure the safety and the security of the president, as we do have many of these major events moving forward. So we're always monitoring operations and procedures, always asking the tough questions to ensure the president is safe, and the American people should be assured there's no higher priority for the president and his staff than the president's safety.
Caroline, Friday you said that you thought that gaggle out of the sticks would be your last one before your baby. Back in 2024, when the president had the attempt on his life in Butler, you cut your maternity leave short back then. You're obviously back here today after Saturday. Can you just elaborate a little bit why you felt it was important to be here to bring to the media and talk to the American people from the stand?
Sure. It's sort of crazy timing when you put it that way for both children with 2 assassination attempts against the president. I'm honored to work in this job. I view this job as the president's spokesperson and the White House spokeswoman as public service. It's not just any job. I'm honored to do it, and I'm honored to work and speak on behalf of President Trump, who has faced unprecedented adversity and challenges, and I'm honored to work for him. And again, as I witnessed on Saturday night, just his dogged resolve and determination to get back onto the stage, and he was pushing Secret Service and law enforcement to allow him to address, and that really, I think, hopefully gives the country the type of strength that we need. And I certainly know, as his spokeswoman, and I can speak on behalf of all of the staff here at the White House, the president inspires all of us to just keep going and keep fighting every day. Thanks, Daniel. And congrats to you on your new baby. He's beautiful. Aisha.
Just on the rhetoric, you mentioned the First Lady and Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel's comments were, "Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow." And he said this days before the shooting, but there does seem to be a normalization of rhetoric about assassinating this particular president. How can this administration try to put an end to this?
Well, I think you heard it directly from the president on Saturday night, Aisha, that in his words, we need to recommit ourselves as a country to toning down the rhetoric and to unifying around what makes our country great. That's true of everyone who works in this White House, but as I said, it's also true of everyone who has a voice and a platform across this country, whether you're on television, a podcast host.
She just talked about me. I'm a podcast host. This person just made a comment here. Marion Papian said, notice how the media is softer and puts out a more sympathetic. Yeah, so I was just mentioning that earlier. Thanks for saying that. The media is softer. They are more sympathetic. They have more empathy. They're out here. They were in the ballroom when that happened. And it's unfortunate. It is what it is, but they're a lot nicer now, and we're happy about that. We're glad, they just nonstop bash. But now this is the day after, and so, or the 2 days after, and so they're a lot nicer now, and we're happy about that. There's a couple guys in here. There's this Moo guy saying that he says here Trump works for the same people the Democrats work for. You dumb grifting POS. I don't even know what you're talking about. If that helps you sleep at night, bro, and that's what makes you like feel like you should hate Trump, okay, fine. That's great. Amazing for you, dude. But Trump is on his, in my opinion, Trump is doing his thing, and he has a lot of political willpower, and that's why we're really happy to have him, because he knows what's right. He chooses to do what's right, regardless of the backlash that comes along with it. And that's how it goes. Thank you, Anna Kemp says, my favorite podcast host. Thank you. Let's keep going.
People listen. And when you have mentally disturbed individuals across the country who are listening to this crazed rhetoric about the president day after day after day, it inspires them to do crazy things. And unfortunately, it's not just the media. It is the entire Democrat Party has made their pitch to voters across the country that Donald Trump poses an existential threat to democracy, that he is a fascist, and that they compare him to Hitler. I mean, these are despicable statements that the American people have been consuming for years. And so many mentally perturbed individuals are led to believe these words are truth and then are inspired to act on it. I have a whole host of examples that we can share with you after. It is pages and pages of major Democrat Party elected officials saying, such as Rep. Hakeem Jeffries just this month said, "We are in an era of maximum warfare everywhere all the time." Governor Josh Shapiro said heads need to roll within the administration. Senator Alex Padilla said people are, quote, dying because of fear and terror caused by the Trump administration. Senator Elizabeth Warren, President Trump is making the country look like a, quote, fascist state. Senator Adam Schiff saying President Trump using a dictator playbook. Senator Ed Markey calling President Trump a...
Guys, these are all your Democratic leaders. These are all senators saying all this stuff about Trump. And there's a reason why. They're saying heads should roll. Guys, this is out of control. You guys should expect better from your leaders. You should go after these people instead of coming in here and lying about Trump being a pedo and lying about Trump being this and that and all that kind of stuff. Do actually something that will help you, elect better people. Talk shit on your own leaders so you can have someone that represents and do something better.
Dictator saying that this administration's actions are authoritarianism on steroids. Governor J.B. Pritzker, never before in my life have I called for mass protest disruptions. These Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. You have Rep. Presley saying, we'll see you in the streets. Rep. Monica McIver, a Democrat representative on Capitol Hill, we will not take this shit from Donald Trump. He thinks he's a dictator. We are at war.
Dude, these people have lost it. Lefties losing it is an understatement. Tomorrow, what's up? She says, where's your follower count? Look, this is the count right now on YouTube. It's 20,975. If you're watching this, hit subscribe. Subscribe to my channel. We'll make this number jump. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Or lit.
These are Democrat elected officials calling for war.
Almost at 21,000 guys, 21,000 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you guys. Yes, Rita Panahi, you're exactly right. Rita Panahi. Oh, there it is, 978. Rita Panahi, lefties losing
against
it.
The president of the United States and his supporters. I could go on and on, but again, when you have people in positions of power that are saying things like this every single day for years, you are inspiring violence by people who are already mentally ill. And that's what we've seen against this president for far too long.
This is disinformation and misinformation online. There will be bite-sized clips that will go viral to the point where there are Americans in this country that believe that what happened Saturday night was staged. How does this White House tap?
Thank you guys. Appreciate you guys subscribing. The number just jumped. Holy shit. We're at 20,997. Things going nuts. Thank you guys. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Tackle that with social media companies out there, whether it's X, Facebook, Instagram. How do they work with these companies to make sure that doesn't get out of control?
It's certainly a good question, Aisha. I don't have tangible answers for you on what we're doing with social media companies, if anything at all. What I will say is it's very important to us that we get the truth and the facts about this case and any case out there as quickly as possible to dispel some of that crazy nonsense that you do see running rampant online. And I think the Department of Justice and the FBI thus far have done a good job of disseminating the truth and the facts about this alleged attempted assassin, the perpetrator in this case, and I understand he'll be arraigned in court very soon. You all see that, and the Department of Justice will be giving a briefing and an update later today. So as far as we're concerned, just providing maximum transparency, and hopefully people will believe the truth rather than the lies and the conspiracies that so often do go crazy on social media. Rachel.
Thanks, Caroline. Does the administration view this as a security failure, or did the protocols work as they were designed?
The president has said he believes that the protocols worked. Again, you had a perpetrator who tried to breach the security parameter that was set up by Secret Service, and he was running as fast as he could and was immediately neutralized moments later. And again, having been right up there on the stage with the president and the First Lady, I can tell you it was seconds before we were told to get down, and it was seconds before we found ourselves in the hold room backstage. It all happened literally within a matter of seconds. The president, the vice president, and the First Lady being pulled to safety. That is not done if there's a lapse. So Secret Service did their jobs well. They communicated with one another to remove the president and the vice president to safety as quickly as they could, and obviously to neutralize the shooter as well. And thank God they did, because if that man was allowed into that ballroom, it would have been a much different scene.
That would have been insane. I'm so glad they stopped him, man. I can't believe that. I can't believe we still have these lunatics running around, traveling all the way across the country with these weapons, trying to do this shit. This is absolutely nuts. So glad they stopped him and he wasn't able to get in there and wreak havoc. And the people that she's talking to right now in that press room were there. They were there. So that's why their attitude is different now. The way they speak is a lot different than these normal press briefings. We watch these press briefings together. You and I, we all do this together on my show. And you guys see how they go crazy on Trump and they go crazy on the administration. Right now, it's a different attitude. So, guys, just hit 21,000. I put the thing on the screen now. Thank you guys for subscribing. I have the subscriber count up there now. Thank you. Good looking out.
One more follow-up on just how the White House could be rethinking security protocols going forward. I mean, we all
Dude, look at, they're all asking about how could you make security protocols better? How could you make this better? How could you improve this? What if this? What if that? How could this? Dude, that's crazy.
remember after the attempted assassination in Butler, there were indoor rallies that were held after that. Is that out of the question, changing any additional security protocols when it comes to how the president does these events that are outside of the White House?
I definitely wouldn't say changes are out of the question. I think, again, that it's up to the White House here, and we view it as a great responsibility to ensure the maximum safety of the president and the vice president and the entire cabinet. And so we're always looking for ways to improve security. I think if you just sit here and say everything is perfect all the time, that's not a good way to operate. And so the White House will continue to engage with DHS and with Secret Service to find ways to improve and strengthen security. But as far as Saturday night is concerned, the president was satisfied with the response, and he's very grateful to the men and women who provided the response for him and his wife and members of his team. Deanna.
Thanks, Caroline.
This person says, we the people are proud of Donald Trump. We support him because he speaks for us, I think, and thus for the American people.
And the president has talked about rescheduling the dinner within 30 days.
Oh no, I read it. You wrote it right. I read it wrong. Because he speaks for and thus for the American people.
Does he have a specific venue in mind? And would he consider hosting it at the White House?
Well, unfortunately, we don't have a room big enough here at the White House, which is another point to be made, and the president is absolutely right. It's why the White House Ballroom project is not just a fun project for President Trump, like you will read in the media. It is actually critical for our national security that a larger, secure building on this complex, which is the most secure complex in the world, is built to accommodate not only large amounts of guests, but also the president, the vice president, members of the cabinet. The line of succession in this country should be able to gather freely in safety without the fear of threats or political violence. And
I agree with Cappy Ron. Cappy Ron says she, meaning Carolyn Levitt, the wonderful, beautiful Carolyn Levitt, who is very much pregnant. I think she's 8 months pregnant, 9 months pregnant now. She's about to have birth. Cappy Ron says she will easily go down as the best speaker. Delaying her maternity leave is wild. God bless her. She is amazing. Thank you for that. I love that.
The White House Ballroom will provide that, and so it's critical that we get this project done as quickly as possible.
Iran as well.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Caroline. Two questions, if that's all right. First, on the security situation on Saturday, kind of a follow-up here. Previous administrations have sent both the president and the vice president to the dinner, but after the foiled attack on Saturday, if the dinner is rescheduled, would President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance both plan on attending? And is it wise to have both of them in the same spot, given the presidential line of succession that you mentioned a second ago?
It's definitely a good question, and I know that it's one that will be raised. I can assure you the president intends to attend the event, as he has told all of you publicly. I don't want to rule in or out the vice president's attendance, but certainly that's a conversation that will take place.
And Iran has proposed a mutual reopening of the strait, leaving the nuclear discussion for later in the process. Given that the nuclear program has been a red line for this administration, would the president agree to that kind of phased negotiation?
Well, only because it's been reported. I will confirm the president has met with his national security team this morning. The meeting may be ongoing, maybe not. I don't want to speak affirmatively because I was prepping to come out here, but the proposal was being discussed. I don't want to get ahead of the president or his national security team. What I will reiterate is that the president's red lines with respect to Iran have been made very, very clear, not just to the American public, but also to them as well.
So they're considering that phased approach?
I wouldn't say they're considering it. I would just say that there was a discussion this morning that I don't want to get ahead of, and you'll hear directly from the president, I'm sure, on this topic very soon.
What's the president's I'm going to ask you about the Fed chairman, but first, 3 assassination attempts in 3 years. Is this going to change the type of events that the president goes to?
Well, again, that's going to be part of the conversations moving forward. But as you heard from President Trump, he does not want these deranged lunatics and these grave acts of political violence to change our American way of life. And I think it's a very brave thing for him to say. It'd be very easy for him to just hunker down here at the White House where he knows he's safe. But the president wants to be out across the country. He wants to go across the country to meet with Americans. He wants to.
And we want him to come and around the country and across the country and meet with all of us and talk to all of us. We love President Trump for that. We love that he comes out. We love that he's in front of the camera more than any other president on the freaking planet. We love that he's in our face. We love that we know what's on his mind. We love that he speaks his mind freely. He doesn't just come up there like a robot and say what he's supposed to say or what he thinks we want him to say. He'll sometimes say things that are to his detriment. He'll say it anyway. He doesn't care. In his mind, he has what he believes is right, and he says what he wants, and we appreciate that because nobody is perfect. He is not perfect, and that's how it is. We're okay with that. We like that. We like people being genuine, especially nowadays, guys, when we have social media. So many people are talking to us like I am now with you guys, and so many people are being more personal and telling more about themselves. And when they do that, you find more things wrong with people, things you don't agree with people. And that's how it goes. The guy, President Trump, the best president on the planet, the guy is just in your face all the time. Of course, you might find things you don't like, but also so many things that you love. And that's what we're doing. And we love Trump. We love that we get to know him better. We love that we know all of his like different quirks and everything. And anyway, you know, we're happy to have him. We're glad that he's talking to us that much. What a refreshing difference from our last president. So glad he's doing this.
To celebrate the 250th birthday of our nation's anniversary this summer. As you know, we're gearing up for a big UFC fight here on the South Lawn. So there's many exciting events I know the president wants to be part of and will be part of moving forward. He's undeterred in that way, and it's something that inspires all of us here to keep going.
Senator Tillis is now dropping his objection to allowing Kevin Warsh to be confirmed because the DOJ has closed their investigation. Is the president satisfied that an inspector general report into the Federal Reserve is enough to look into these renovations?
The president understands that the inspector general has greater tools at their disposal, perhaps even more powerful than a grand jury, to continue investigating the financial mismanagement of the Fed building, which is a priority for the president. Look, he's a builder himself. When he sees something has a lot of cost overruns, is taking too long, and in this case, ripping off the American taxpayer, he wants to get to the bottom of it. I understand Senator Tillis put out a statement saying he'll support Kevin Warsh's confirmation. That has been our position all along from day one. He is more than qualified for the job, and we look forward to working with the Senate on his swift confirmation process. Megan.
As a follow-up on Warsh, will the president be satisfied once the Fed's
Guys, in a second, she's going to take her last questions from these people, and then I'm going to show you an excerpt out of my book here that I want to go. It's Thomas Sowell. It's the book. It's the person that Thomas Sowell is the author. Well, he's one of the greatest economists of our time, but he's someone that Charlie Kirk read a lot, and he loved. Charlie Kirk spoke of Thomas Sowell a lot, and that's the main reason why I read Thomas Sowell books. But I'm going to read some of it to you in case you don't read Thomas Sowell yourself. So we're going to do that in a second. I just have a couple pieces I want to show you.
Inspector General finishes that investigation, even if it finds no evidence of wrongdoing?
Well, that's a hypothetical question. I'll let the president speak on it when we see the results. It's obviously far too early to say.
And relatedly, as a follow-up, now that it looks like Warsh will be confirmed by the end of Jay Powell's term, is he still considering firing Jay Powell if he stays on as governor after that?
I haven't talked to him about it specifically, but I think the president will be satisfied once Kevin Warsh is confirmed as the Fed chair, which he should be. Karen.
On Iran, the president had said last week that the U.S. has started the process of clearing the Strait of Hormuz of mines. Do you have an update on how many have been removed and an estimate of how long that process could take?
I don't, but I would defer you to the Pentagon on that. We'll make sure they get you an answer, Karen.
It's an ongoing process, though. It's still actually happening right now.
Again, I would defer you to the Pentagon on anything with respect to clearing mines in the Strait of Hormuz. I'll go
I know,
back, but go ahead.
I know that you said that the White House is reviewing the security protocols for things that could be done differently in the future. Have you identified anything so far that you would like to see done differently?
Dang, guys, more and more questions from reporters about security of the White House and stuff like that. Look, now that they were in there in that room when that happened, they have all they level with Trump more. They level with everyone more. They understand it now. It's a way, what a different tone they have.
Or ask the Secret Service to make any changes in the security protocols for the president, particularly at these large events that are taking place off the White House campus?
Not yet, no, but as I said, there will be a meeting here at the White House in the earlier half of this week, so those conversations will take place.
And on the line of succession...
And I would also just add, you know, look, the Secret Service does not detail their procedures or operations to the public for obvious reasons, because you have crazy people who try to hijack them and get around them. So these conversations will take place in private, but if adjustments need to be made to protect the president, they will be made.
The White House discussed doing like it does, for instance, with a joint address to Congress for these large events, and designating someone as the designated survivor for future large events that the cabinet attends.
Well, those conversations ahead of the Waka dinner did take place, but there were several members of the cabinet in the line of succession who did not attend for various personal reasons. So designating one survivor was not necessary, as we had several members who were not there already.
Caroline, all those people forced to dive under tables and fearing for their lives on Saturday night, including many of the people in this room, myself included. What is the president's message to those people who experienced that terrible trauma and maybe are still fearful today?
I think he would say, as he sort of did on Saturday night, coming in here in his tuxedo, you know, we can't allow these crazy people to let us be afraid. We have to keep moving forward, showing up, doing our job, celebrating our country, and doing what we know is right. But certainly we'd like to see the rhetoric against this president and his supporters toned down, because it is inspiring these crazy people across the country to target not just the president, but those who work for him and those who support him. And it must end.
Is he following the arraignment of the suspect today?
Yes, he is, and I know you all want to follow that too. It's happening in a few minutes, so I'll let you all go. The Department of Justice is also going to be speaking momentarily following the arraignment, and I pray that this is the last time I speak to you for some time until after my maternity leave. So thank you, guys.
Okay, guys, so I'm going to pull this up now. I kept telling you guys about this. So this is my, where is it at? Let me just hit this on your screen. All right, guys. So what you're looking at here is this book, okay? And I get hardcovers. This is Thomas Sowell. It's called The Reader. In case you don't read, I'm going to read a sentence or two, and we're going to you're going to get an idea of who Thomas Sowell is. This is the book. It's called the Thomas Sowell Reader, okay? And in this book, the cool thing about this book is it's got a bunch of articles that he wrote, 1-pagers, 2-pagers. Look at this. So for example, this last one, like here's a couple, like the compassionate racket, the compassion racket, spoiled brat politics, okay? And then if you look over here, this next one is the left's vocabulary. And this is the one that I want to read a couple pieces out of. I took some notes. I'm not trying to get hit for copyright here on my channel, but I just want to read, and this is just for our purposes of understanding. So I'm going to put my notes here. You can kind of see those a little. Well, let me see if I can just do this. Hold on. Let me go like this. So those are some of the notes I took, and from this that I'm about to read to you. So here's you guys want to understand Thomas Sowell. Here you go. Check this out. Let me just go here. Okay, so it says here that a recent angry email from a reader said that certain issues should not be determined by the dictates of the market. Okay, so that's, let's get into something more juicy. Okay, let's do this. Okay. Check this out. Another word that the left has virtually banished from the language is bum. Centuries of experience with idlers who refused to work and who hung around on the streets making a nuisance and sometimes a menace of themselves were erased from our memories as the left verbally transformed these same people into a sacred icon called the homeless. Basically, what he's saying there is, I mean, if you followed along, they took the word bum and erased the word bum from the vocabulary, and this is the left's vocabulary. And if you look here at the bottom, I'm just reading from this bottom piece right here. Okay, and it says there, they basically, the homeless, for people to have compassion for the homeless and for us to create endless type of social programs, welfare programs for the homeless, they changed the word to homeless. And we no longer say bum. This is just one piece of it. And then we get into a little more of this. And again, I'm going to read this. So I want to put that back. And it says here, here's another one. Crimes committed by bums are covered up by the media by verbally transforming the homeless into transients or drifters whenever they commit crimes. Thus, the homeless are the only group you never hear of committing crimes. Now check this out. Here's where it gets a little more juicy, okay? Now, this is the part that we talk about a lot on my channel, and you'll see it, you'll understand. The left has a whole vocabulary devoted to depicting people who do not meet standards as people who have been denied access. So what you have people who have been who do not meet standards, who do not apply themselves, do not want to achieve or overachieve, and they do not want to apply themselves, and they do not, as a result, they do not meet standards. Now we refer to them as people who have been denied access. You see that? Now, he follows up by saying, whether it is academic standards, job qualifications, or credit requirements, those who do not measure up are said to have been deprived of opportunity, rights, or social justice. Okay? Let's see where it goes. Okay, now. All right. Rights, in quotation, says rights, for example, have become an all-purpose term used for evading both facts and logic by saying that people have a right to whatever the left wants to give them by taking from others. Okay? Yeah. So they use the word rights and they evade facts and logic. Basically, they're allergic to the truth. They're allergic to the truth. And they evade facts and logic. And they say people have a right. People have a right to whatever the left wants them to have. And then this is the last part I'm going to read before we call it a day. At one time, educators tried to teach students to carefully define words and systematically analyze arguments, saying, "We are here to teach you how to think, not what to think." But today, they're teaching students what to think. They're teaching them political correctness. Instead of knowledge, students are given, quote, self-esteem, so that they can vent their ignorance with confidence. So guys, that was a little bit of Thomas Sowell, and that was that was your little bit of reading for today. That's the first time I've done this on my channel. I've been wanting to do this for a while. Those of you that know me know I love. I've been wanting to give you guys a little bit of these books that I read, and basically Thomas Sowell in this quick little article he wrote called "The Left's Vocabulary" basically explains that they change around the words to manipulate people, to get them to become social justice warriors and to vote for them, to create these social programs to help these people who no longer are applying themselves and no longer achieving. And so it's a very good book to read. If you're not a reader and you don't want to you don't like reading because it's kind of like a little too much to read whole chapters in big books or whatever the case is, or maybe you just want something simple where you could just read quickly, this is a great book. I'm going to put it back on your screen real quick because these are one page like this. I haven't read this yet. It says unfunded mandates. It's literally 1, 2, barely 3 pages. This one that I just read to you is called, let me zoom out here. Which way is this zoom here? Let me zoom out here. This one is called The Left's Vocabulary, and it's literally just 2 pages. And you could read that very quickly if you want to just pick up a book and just look at it real quick and read a page or two, and get a whole idea. He crams all these ideas into like 2 pages. And this book is just literally, look how thick it is. It's a big ass book full of his articles that he wrote. Okay, guys? So enjoy that. If you want to read a great book by Thomas Sowell, let me put that on your screen. This is the book. It's called The Thomas Sowell Reader. Highly recommended. Thank you guys for joining the stream. Thank you for subscribing and giving me love today. Appreciate you guys. It was a fun stream. It's a good Monday. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. Have a good day. Bye.